I know there are a lot of theories floating around about Supreme Leader Snoke being people we've seen in the movies or a certain Sith Lord mentioned in Revenge of the Sith. I want to put forward the idea of Snoke being a new character who might be inspired by a Sith Lord from the Legends canon. And no, he's still not Darth Plagueis. Hey YouTube, this is Urban Acolyte TV, and my name is Prince. I was checking Google for images of Supreme Leader Snoke last night when I stumbled onto this article over at StarWarsNews.net that was a speculation piece on what Snoke is really up to in the new Star Wars saga. The writer put forward this idea that Supreme Leader Snoke could be an extremely old being who has mastered the more arcane aspects of the Force. In Star Wars, people who deal with sorcery and arcane secrets or more unnatural parts of the Force are usually drawn to the dark side. Because Snoke's mummified appearance is very similar to the scarring that Anakin has when Luke removes his helmet, this article puts forward the idea that Snoke has taken on some of Anakin's appearance because he's absorbed some of Anakin's residual Force energy from the Vader helmet. The article alleges that Snoke's real ambitions are to train Kylo Ren to become more powerful so that Snoke can absorb the Force from Kylo Ren and eventually from Luke Skywalker. According to the article, the writer believes that Snoke's general lack of interest in the destruction of Starkiller base gives some credibility to the thought that Snoke has some ulterior motive for leading the First Order against the New Republic. Now, I'm not at all familiar with Harry Potter, but the person who wrote this article stated that they had a problem with their own theory because it sounds too similar to what Voldemort was attempting in the Harry Potter movies. Like I said, I'm not into Harry Potter, but this idea of Sith Lords who eat the Force is not something new. In the sequel to the Knights of the Old Republic, the Sith Lords, there was a member of the Sith Triumvirate, Darth Nihilus, who could literally drain the Force from entire planets. The man who became Nihilus went through a traumatic experience after he watched everyone die on Malachor 5 after Revan's forces set off the mass shadow generator to end the Mandalorian Wars. Think of Darth Nihilus as like a person who survived a hydrogen bomb explosion, but in the process, they see everything and everyone they knew get nuked into ashes. While I'm on the topic of Malachor 5, I should mention that the Great Scourge of Malachor is canon. Right now, we don't actually know if the Great Scourge of Malachor refers to what happened in the Mandalorian Wars. If it does, then this could potentially bring Revan into the canon. Kylo Ren's crossguard lightsaber is actually based on an ancient lightsaber design that dates back thousands of years to the Great Scourge of Malachor. In the Rebels mid-season trailer, we saw a clip of Ezra with a stable version of a crossguard lightsaber. Some of you have pointed out that Kylo Ren has the crossguard lightsaber because of the cracked kyber crystal. Now, I will agree that Kylo Ren went with that design because of the need to vent the quillons from the unstable blade, but I think that someone recommended that design to him because of his cracked kyber crystal. And since this kind of lightsaber may not have been seen since the time of the Old Republic, I think that only a person who lived during that time could have given Kylo Ren the design to build that kind of a lightsaber, unless it was Ezra who later gives the design to Ben Solo. Some of you don't seem to like the thought that Ezra could have played a part in starting the Knights of Ren, so we'll discuss that topic in another video after Season 2 of Rebels ends. Let's take another look at that image of Ezra with the crossguard lightsaber though. Do you notice that weird statue to the right of Ezra? What if the rebels have traveled to Malachor and that statue was a person and maybe whatever happened to them was caused by the Great Scourge of Malachor? If all those conditions are met, then it's really not much of a stretch to assume that someone may have survived this event. The traumatic experience could have left that person twisted and broken so that they literally become a wound in the Force. See, that's what happens to Darth Nihilus. He goes on to join Darth Treya's academy, where she teaches him how to devour entire planets by draining the Force from them. And he eventually becomes a Sith Lord alongside Darth Treya and Darth Sion. Now, I'm not saying that Snoke is Darth Nihilus. What I am saying is that based on what we were presented in that article, Snoke could be this type of being who feeds on the Force. In the video game canon, which is part of the Legends canon, there are dark side abilities like Force Drain or Life Drain. Some Sith Lords like Darth Nihilus and Emperor Vitiate have performed those abilities on a much larger scale. To further support this life drain or force drain ability has made it into the canon. In Aftermath, it is mentioned that Sith Lords could drain the force energy from their captives. They could siphon life from them and use it to strengthen their connection to the dark side. They could also extend their own lives so that they could live for centuries beyond their normal life expectancy. I think that it would not be too difficult to take the origin for Darth Nihilus and apply it to Snoke. We already have some event called the Scourge of Malachor, and Kylo Ren's lightsaber ties us to that event. So someone knows something about Malachor, and they were possibly there. Snoke could be this completely original character who just happened to be at Malachor and survived. Somehow through these events, Snoke manages to preserve his life and live the next 4,000 years. That's if we're dating the Scourge of Malachor back to roughly 4,000 years before Yavin. Now, Christian Harloff over on the Jedi Council has a problem with Snoke being a new character because it raises the issue of where has this powerful dark side user been all this time and how did they manage to fly under the radar? To answer that question, I'm going to have to fall back on my Taoist Negong training. If you're like at say a level 20 in some systems, you can only detect people at your level and below. So someone who's level 25 or above might go unnoticed. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, just think about it like some MMO games. If something kind's gray to you, you probably won't draw aggro unless you do something to provoke them. So it's possible that Snoke has been in the unknown regions or wild space studying the dark side of the Force this entire time. In the new canon, we're being presented with other kinds of Force users and religions based on the Force that are outside the binary construction of just Jedi or Sith. We have Mother Talzin and the Night Sisters on Dathomir who use dark side magic. You have the Lasan people who follow the Ashla. In the Legends canon, the Ashla is a name for the light side of the Force. So if you have the Ashla, then it's possible that there are people out there who worship the Bogan, which refers to the dark side of the Force. Originally, the first Jedi believed in balancing the Ashla and the Bogan, so they were concerned about people being too light or too dark. There may still be groups in the galaxy who serve both or neither. The Acolytes of the Abyss could be one of those groups seeking to balance the Force. It's possible that Snoke is not a Sith at all, but he came out of one of these groups who serve the Bogan. Now, I've been debating on doing a video on this topic, but the Ashla and the Bogan are drawn from the Dawn of the Jedi comic books about when the people who become the first Jedi first go to Tython. Now, since I mentioned people serving the Bogan, there are also people who are non-Force sensitive who worship the Sith's philosophy on the dark side of the Force. Palpatine's advisor, Yupe Tashu, is one of those people. He's not strong with the Force, but he follows the Sith philosophy. As a matter of fact, it was Yupe Tashu who presented the idea of the Empire retreating into wild space beyond the known maps and hyperroute lanes to seek out the source of the dark side. See, Tashu told a group of high-ranking officers and Moffs that Palpatine believed the source of his power came from beyond the edges of the known maps. So to answer the question of how Snoke could have flown under the radar all this time, it's possible that Palpatine sensed a strong dark side presence in the unexplored regions of space. But Palpatine couldn't locate that source because he was busy running an empire and later fighting a rebellion. Could it be that this presence was actually Darth Plagueis? That's possible, but I doubt it. We have no idea how long Palpatine was sensing that presence. It's possible that even his own master, Darth Plagueis, passed that knowledge on to Palpatine. If you've been following everything from the new canon, all indications are pointing to Plagueis being dead. I know some people like to think that Palpatine was just lying to Anakin to manipulate him, and I think there was a bit of manipulation going on during that scene in the opera in Revenge of the Sith. But in the Tarkin novel, we get to read Palpatine's thoughts, and Palpatine is the one saying that his master, Darth Plagueis, is dead. So if Plagueis is still alive somewhere, even Palpatine wouldn't have known about it. So let's go back over everything to sum this up, because I've done a lot of talking here. Snoke could be this completely new character who has a similar backstory as Darth Nihilus. Somehow he's been in the unexplored regions of space, using the dark side of the Force to extend his life. When the remnants of the Empire retreat into the unknown regions, they encounter Snoke, who is then elevated to the Emperor status. Snoke is serving as leader of the First Order, who want to reestablish the Empire. But Snoke's main objective is to become the most powerful Force user in the galaxy by draining the Force from Kylo Ren and defeating Luke Skywalker. This isn't me presenting a theory of what's going to happen in episodes 8 or 9. I'm just giving you something to chew on so that you can come up with your own theory. So with all that being said, I'd like to hear from you all. What do you think about Snoke being like this new version of Darth Nihilus? Do you think that Snoke is only using Kylo Ren so that he can use a force-draining ability to become more powerful? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If this is your first time seeing Urban Acolyte TV, go ahead and click subscribe so that you can be notified when I get my new videos posted. I normally post new Star Wars videos every Wednesday and Sunday, so be sure to check back, especially on those days. If you haven't seen them already, be sure to check out these 2 videos that I did on Star Wars Rebels. In this one, I talk about Starkiller from the Force Unleashed video games, and I ask if we'll ever see him on Rebels, or possibly in the new movies. In this other video, I cover everything we know right now about Star Wars Rebels leading up to the season finale, Twilight of the Apprentice. Those videos will be in the cards, so you can click in the little eye in the top left corner of your screen. Actually, I think it's the top right corner, but it's my left. So, up here. And remember that I love telling you all about Star Wars so that it might change your life the same way it's changed mine. Well, that's all I've got for now. Thank you for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the Force be with you. Bye.